Gunslinger, the Solar Slayer. The Gunslinger is a versatile hunter subclass, able to play both offensively and defensively, though not excelling at either. It is perhaps well known for its super, the Golden Gun. With this, the Gunslinger is able to clear out entire sections of the map for your team over an extended period of time, allowing for quick pushes or stable defenses. So, let's talk grenades. First we have the Incendiary Grenade, a good grenade useful for its damage over time effect, or dot effect. However, don't expect to get too many kills with this, as although the radius for applying the dot is large, damage quickly falls off in the centre of the explosion. The Trip Mine Grenade, in my opinion, is the best grenade for PvP. It is able to kill anyone that isn't running maximum armor, and it is best used stuck to vertical surfaces. It is also best used at checkpoints and when capping points in control. Finally, we have the Swarm Grenade, which combines the area effect of the Incendiary Grenade and the throw and forget nature of the Trip Mine. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the damage of the Trip Mine or the dot of the Incendiary, and thus falls short of both. The Hunter's Double Jump is one of the most versatile jumps in the game, allowing for both vertical and lateral movement. The Triple Jump upgrade allows for a lot of controlled movement in the air, and it is important to note that unlike other jumps, you can scope in the entire time you are in the air after pressing the jump button. Golden Gun is the Gunslinger's infamous super. Able to kill enemies from a safe distance, it puts the Gunslinger in a Slayer role. Unlike Sunsinger or Blade Dancer supers, you gain no defensive bonuses, so you have to strike a balance between playing aggressive to get kills and staying alive. All special weapons can quickly ruin your super, so be careful over long sightlines and around tight corners. As it is a duration super, you will lose it at any time after the initial cast finishes. Perk-wise, there are 3, Deadeye, Combustion and Gunfighter. The accuracy of Golden Gun is high, though if you feel you need more, then Deadeye can be useful, though it's definitely situational. In most cases, you shouldn't need the increased accuracy. Combustion causes enemies to explode, and although the range of killing enemies is small, it simply adds more conditional damage to your super for bunched up enemies. Great for once a dependent buff was popped, for killing multiple enemies inside. Gunfighter is simple in its effects. It reduces the cooldown of your Golden Gun by 30 seconds. While good, I feel that in most cases this doesn't make a considerable difference if you are capping points and killing enemies. Otherwise, still a solid option. Throwing Knife is the Gunslinger's ranged melee attack. It has a trajectory similar to grenades, but does have some tracking. Up close, it can be used as an anti-shotgun strategy, as a precision hit will deal more than 75% of an enemy's health. Again, it has 3 modifiers: Circle of Life, Incendiary Blade, and Knife Juggler. Circle of Life is usually only taken for the +1 armor. You should not be trying to get throwing knife kills during your super. Incendiary Blade adds a dot effect to your knife, useful for getting more damage out of your knife, but it can't cause a one-hit kill. Knife Juggler causes precision kills, which you should be getting more often than not with a throwing knife, to reset its cooldown. Probably the best option if you're used to getting a lot of throwing knife kills. The first perk tree for Gunslinger has Scavenger, Keyhole, and Gunslinger's Trance. Scavenger isn't as useful anymore due to the reduced amount of ammo on the ground increasable after previous patches. It is still useful if you want more uptime for your grenade melee and don't have high discipline or strength. Keyhole causes your Golden Gun to over-penetrate targets, which can allow for more kills, albeit not that often. A good choice still, in my opinion, further increasing the lethality of Golden Gun. The problem with Gunslinger's Trance and Chain of Woe in the next perk column is a small uptime. In most cases, you won't feel the increased ability in your next gunfight. The second perk column has Chain of Woe, Over the Horizon, and Gambler's Dagger. Chain of Woe is similar to Gunslinger's Trance, but with reload speeds. More useful as you'll probably reload after a kill, but it still has a short uptime. Although the range nerfs to hand cannons affect Golden Gun, you shouldn't need Over the Horizon considering how easy it is to be killed by a sniper at ranges where it is useful. Gambler's Dagger is good if you find yourself using a lot of throwing knives. Pair with Knife Juggler for a lot of knives, useful for the single hand cannon shot and throwing knife kills. In terms of armor, agility, and recovery, I personally prefer a max of armor and recovery. Being a hunter, you gain a lot of agility for free. Recovery is useful for being able to face the next gunfight at full health. Having full armor will let you live through trip mine grenades. Now let's look at the exotics available for Gunslinger hunters. Exotics that are aimed for Blade Dancer have been omitted. They are just not good enough in comparison. The ATS-8 Arachnid gives zoom and was essentially over the horizon for Golden Gun. Not a great exotic considering it gives strength as well as discipline, but not a bad one if you like the zoom. Acleophage Symbiote is probably the most common Gunslinger exotic seen in Crucible, mainly because it increases your super by a third, which is really good. The secondary perks help as well as a singular discipline stat being really valuable for hunters. Celestial Nighthawk is probably the worst exotic for PvP. Golden Gun already kills in one shot, so it goes without saying it is terrible to trade your 3 shots for 1. Knucklehead Radar will depend on personal preference. It can be useful for those who rely a lot on their radar and don't have third eye rolled on weapons. Strength is a bit of a wasted stat, however. Crest of Alpha Lupi is used for more orbs and faster revive times. Otherwise avoid, as there are better options. The Don't Touch Me gauntlets aren't that useful for PvP, as it is difficult to get the invisibility effect, and in most cases you'll probably be dead anyway. Capri Sting is good if you want invisibility for a gunslinger, though it will be short in duration. The extra damage will be difficult to pull off, and the full strength statistic is generally bad for gunslingers. Young Ahamkara's Spine is simple in that it increases the duration of trip mine up to 30 seconds. Good, especially with its discipline roll, but there are a lot of better options. Radiant Dance Machines have strength and a very situational perk. It is best to avoid this exotic unless you're going for a run and gun build. Bones of Ao adds an extra jump, adding more options in the air, though in most cases you'll want a different exotic perk. Good stat-wise as well, as it is full discipline. So here's my go-to build for Gunslinger. I make sure that my intellect and discipline are almost full and have 0 strength. I find I don't use my throwing knives enough to make that much of a difference. The Acleophage Symbiote is my exotic choice, as it just complements the super so well. I use a trip mine as my grenade for its lethality and defensiveness. Perks wise, I have the triple jump upgrade, Incendiary Blade for the extra damage, and Gambler's Dagger to compensate for my low strength. For the Golden Gun, I have the Combustion perk, as well as Keyhole to increase the potential damage for Golden Gun.